So how do people look for a doctor, and what are the questions they should be asking their doctor for their first time?
To find a doctor is a pretty general thing. I mean, you have to look for their qualifications, the reputation in the community, and word of mouth, of course, because word of mouth is the strongest, if you like, referral source. Advertisements, advertorials, various other vehicles in the media are something that's being used by everybody, and you don't necessarily have to do a good job to have that kind of reputation. However, I think word of mouth is probably the best way. Then in terms of the questions that you have to ask for the lip, I think the very first thing is, are you a good candidate? And that would depend on how big your lips are, how much actual lip substance you have, because remember, we're not creating new lip. What we're doing is we're making the wet vermilion, which is the part inside your mouth, roll outwards. So the quantity of fillers has to be matched to what is achievable, otherwise you end up with lumpiness and unnatural appearance. So the second thing is, of course, the product. You should know about the product. The hyaluronic acid is largely used. And so, again, you should ask about the type of product, what is the viscosity of the product, depending on the type of result that you're looking for. And then finally, I think the safety. We have to be very clear about potential side effects which can occur. Fortunately, there are not very many, but it can bring on, for example, people who have cold sores can get herpes, additional attacks of herpes, if indeed they have that history. Then things like infection, bruising, bleeding, these are not very common, but they can happen. So I think that kind of sums it up.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
So hello, Nina. Now, what we're going to do is essentially a lip augmentation for you. So you had mentioned to me a couple of things. So would you just like to repeat those, or what you're looking for?
Yeah, so I tend to avoid the corners completely because I don't want to widen my mouth. And then I tend to enlarge the center. So I like the top to roll up a little bit. And then, of course, just match it with the bottom. And that is about it.
So approximately the same, or slightly larger lower lip?
Slightly larger, because they have gone down significantly since the last time I've done them.
So we have to note a couple of things about your lips before we start, and these are important to note. That what we call the Cupid's, and you see the apex of the Cupid's bow is actually higher on this side than this side. And then secondly, I think you already have a fair amount of volume laterally, so we're going to avoid that completely, and as you said, we're going to stick to the center. You have a reasonably good definition, and I think you wanted to enhance that, which would mean that you would have quite a pouty mouth. This is what you wanted. Right? The other thing that we can do, if you wish, and this is again something that some people like, is to enhance the actual Cupid's bow and the line that runs from the apex of the Cupid's bow here right up to the base of the ala. Now that can happen in some people, and that's something you could think about. If you decide to do it, I'll put a tiny bit of volume just under the skin here and there. Alright, so we're going to start now. The first thing I'd like to do is try to achieve the symmetry, if we can, between this side of your lip and this side. So you shouldn't feel any of this. We're going to go in. Is that alright? Alright, and so what I'm trying to do is build this up now, and slowly we try to match the height. Now when we're trying to match the height, we also have to match the outward roll here, because your two lip sides are slightly different. It's okay.
This is the first time I've ever had injection in my upper lip to numb the lip. The first ever time. Normally I feel everything, so. This is a blast.
Okay, big smile again. Let me just check that again. Thank you. Okay. And I usually like to take a little bit in the center, as most patients like a little bit in the center. Now you're beginning to pout, and I've used half the upper lip. Now we're going to just work on the lower one. So what I normally like to do is just enhance the projection in the center. I know that's a bit sore for you, but probably not too bad. Now really we're working just center. And you can see how that little roll comes up over here.
Right.
And that's what we want to do. We want to keep, okay, so eyes here. We want to keep a little baby's bottom if possible, right there, what we call a baby's bottom. We'll try to just create this. I'm sorry about this little scratch. You see what's beginning to happen. There's a little depression. We need to keep in the central portion. Remember, everything's going in the center.
Yeah.
Okay, and we're really trying to just build that up. Now, we try to build up these two cushions a little bit more. So be careful here. Because as the slightest elevation, you can get lumps, right?
Okay.
Because we're working on, your lip is already reasonably enhanced.